Well, it's here, it's looking good, it's iOS 7, and you can download it now next on iPad 365. Hey everybody, Jeffrey Powers here. Welcome to iPad 365, the show where we look at apps to keep your iPad aplay. It's here. Did you download it yet? Did you install it yet? Well, I have, and I'm going to give you all the rundown, all the lowdown, all the low jack, and all the other stuff that you could possibly want from iOS 7. First of all, iPad 365 is the Twitter handle. You can also email me at show@ipad-365.com. show@ipad-365.com if you've got an app that you want me to show off for iPad 365. Well, here it is. Let's start at the beginning here. Let's just kind of do this. Bring this. We're now on iOS 7 here, and we're at the lock screen. As you can see, I have the bubbles up here, and of course the slide to unlock. If you notice that slide to unlock, it's very hard to see. And then, of course, you have different types of ways to slide to unlock. Let's do that again. If you noticed, I didn't have to slide at the place to slide to unlock. I can slide up here, and poof, I'm in here. Of course, if you want to do the passcode too, you can do that too. But this is iOS 7, iPad's version. Now, first of all, I want to let you know there are things that are not going to be on certain iPads. Like, for instance, AirDrop will not be on an iPad 2. Or an iPad 3. It's only on the 4th generation iPad. And another thing that you will not see that's on iOS 7 that iPhone users will have are certain photo functionalities. Of course, also certain call functionalities. All that stuff will not be on the iPad. You'll have to get the iPhone and iOS 7. And then, of course, you've got to have either iPhone 5, 5C, or 5S to get the full functionality of iOS 7. But here it is. It's the flat version that they kept talking about. Of course, it's got the dynamic background to it, and I have blue bubbles for the regular screen and red bubbles for the lock screen. And I'm getting used to it, although I don't see that 3D look that they showed off at WWDC. First of all, I went to update it. Actually, they did the updates at noon today. That would be 1 p.m. Eastern. And I started downloading it, and I got it in right away. I was downloading. It's like, hey, this is great. And all of a sudden, it just completely failed. It just came back and says, download failed. It's like, okay. So I hit the OK button. I went back in, hit the agreement, and it failed again. And it kept doing that again and again and again. And then finally, it started downloading. And it got to the point where it's like preparing update, and then it's like, download failed. It's like, what? So after about 40 minutes, I finally got on, and I did a little video of it going. But anyway, after about an hour of updating, it finally came back. Here it is, iOS 7. There's a lot of features that have happened in iOS 7 that we could go on and on about. But let's just get the basic gist of it. First of all, you're noticing, notice this. We go into games, we come back out. As you can see, it slides out and slides back. It's a functionality. I bet you there's some setting in here that can change it. There's a lot of settings. The big one that I'm going to show you right now is, in general, the change of Siri. Now, with Siri, we got a brand new voice. Actually, got a brand new bunch of voices. You can actually change your language from English to Chinese to French to German. And I spend a little bit of time having fun with playing with the different voices there and talking to Siri in different languages, even though I didn't know the language that they were speaking of. And of course, you can say, I want a male voice, I want a female voice, and let's just switch it over to the male voice, and it sounds a little something like this. Hello, Siri.
Siri says hi back.
That's the male voice. Let me do that again. Hello, Siri.
Hi, Jeffrey.
And of course, I can get, all the other stuff. I can change my name and stuff like that. We'll go back here. I can switch it back to the female voice just like that. And I can go, hello, Siri.
Hi there, Jeffrey.
And of course, that voice is actually a little bit different as well. So inside settings, you can change the Siri, which a lot of people are really excited about, especially those that have accents to them, Australian accent. They can talk with Siri a little bit better. Some other things that are new here. Let's go back to the main screen here. First of all, you normally would have to slide one way to actually get to the search box. As you can see, that functionality doesn't happen anymore. You slide down like this and your search happens. Now make sure you don't slide from the top of your iPad, because then that will bring your planner schedule up. You don't want that. So you just want the basic search. There it is right there. Bring it back. Now, if you want to get the contrast, like for instance, when you double tap the button in iOS 6, what that did was that showed you apps in the bottom bar, and then you slid all the way over and you could adjust the contrast, you could adjust the volume. That doesn't happen anymore. In fact, you're seeing these are the different programs that I've opened that are available. In fact, I can take any program and just swipe it off there, and I've completely closed the program, which is great if you're doing something you need to remove as much process as possible. You swipe all of those out, and of course you've got a clean slate and go from there. Now, to get to your contrast, to actually get to the AirPlay functionality, which I'm using so you can see it on this screen, you go from the bottom, the way bottom of your iPad, go from the bottom and you swipe up. Okay, so you swipe down, you like that, and that's your search of your iPad. If you swipe up from the bottom, that brings up your control panel, and lots of different things on the control panel. You have your camera there that you can switch to. You can play your songs. Of course, you've got the contrast right here, so you can make this brighter or darker. Of course, that's not going to affect this screen at all. You've got these buttons, including AirPlay mode. You've got the Wi-Fi AirDrop. You've got Bluetooth, you've got the Do Not Disturb sign, and then you've got the lock there. Of course, right here is where you change it, and I changed it to actually hook up into this TV here. And I changed it so I could hook up to this monitor here so you could see what I'm doing. Volume, of course, and then a brand new feature, and that's the timer, and I love this. This actually has different types of timers. You got the timer, you got the stopwatch, you got the alarm, and then of course the world clock. So I can find out it's now just after 2:30 in Cupertino. New York is at about 5:30. Paris is 11:35, almost 11:35. Beijing is 5:35. I'm guessing that's in the morning, 13 hours ahead. And then of course here in Madison, Wisconsin is 4:34. We've got temperatures down below, so I can say it's 73 in Madison, it's 81 in Cupertino. In Beijing, it's 66 degrees, and there's a storm front coming into Paris, or Paris, as some people would say. So you have different things you can do. The stopwatch, and I can find out how long I can actually say a sentence like this, and then I just stop it or I lap it. And I can use that for different things. And of course the timer. So if I have a 1 minute thing that I want to talk about, I can just say, 7 years ago, our forefathers have made this iPad with iOS 7 so you can do the things that you want to do in the time that you want to do it. And we won't go the whole minute because then you'll kind of get bored and you'll stop watching. So we'll just leave it at that. But you've got a whole bunch of functionality that comes from that swipe up. Now let's go to the camera here, because that's a major change here, and you don't want to see my dirty room, so I'll just flip it over to here. And as you can see, the camera's got a new sidebar here with the button. You can choose video, you can choose photo, or you can choose square. Now there's extra functionality for the iPhone that you will not see here. You will not see here. But you will. It's there. You just don't get it. And like I said, this is a 4th generation iPad. Maybe the 5th generation iPad will actually have that functionality. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But if I wanted to shoot a video, photo, I can do that. I can do burst. That's still cool. The cool thing here, I did that. A couple pictures. Here's a couple pictures of my keyboard. I did it in burst mode. So you can see that functionality is there, but it's completely different, and the camera looks brand new, and all the other functionality, like for instance zoom in, zoom out, it's all there, and I can't wait to test that out in some different settings here. So other than that, everything else looks pretty much the same. You've got the background that moves around a little bit, the dynamic background. I'm guessing there's going to be more dynamic backgrounds as we go. There are a couple more things we're going to talk about, and we'll do that next. All right, we're back. Let's get down to this panel here. I want to show you AirDrop a little bit more. So basically, with AirDrop, what you can do is you can set it up for everyone. You can set it up for contacts, or you can turn it completely off. I would turn it off and keep it off for the time being. If you don't need to transfer something, then what's the point in having it open? Now, of course, this will then transfer from your iPad to maybe a Mac, maybe an iPhone, if you've got a file, a picture, an MP3, a podcast, or something like that you want to share with them. So that's pretty cool stuff. You can check that out. But once again, I just turn that off if you have no reason to keep it on all the time. And when it's time to turn it on, all you have to do is swipe up and then hit AirDrop. You can choose for contacts or everyone and go from there. The other thing is, in music, you now have a new thing called iTunes Radio. And I just played it on iTunes there, and it worked perfectly. I've played it on the iPad here, and this also works really well. I set up a couple stations, Journey Station, of course. They give you some featured stations up on top I was listening to as well. Works just like Pandora, like Spotify. You create a channel, you put the songs in it, and you let it play. And then, of course, if you like the song, you buy the song. And you can do a whole lot more from there. So iTunes Radio, of course, you've got your playlists, your songs, your albums, your genres, your composers, just like you did before. Looks a little bit different, but very easy to navigate through, so shouldn't be any problem there. There's a couple of other things here, with the calendar, the change of the calendar, the reminders, that looks a little bit differently. There's an ability to actually size up and down the fonts a little bit differently now. But the one thing I don't like about iOS 7 right now is this right here. It's the folder setup. Before, when you had all your apps inside the folder, it just encompassed the screen. Now, I've got 2 pages of apps, so I've actually got to flip back and forth to find the app. And at first it was like, well, I'm going to go into the games and look at the games. It's like, wait a minute, there's only 9 games in here. I know there's more that I put into this folder. And then I realized, I have to swipe it over to see the other ones. So that's going to get a little bit annoying, especially since you have so much real estate on the iPad to actually extend out the box and show all the icons. I just don't understand why they didn't do that. Other than that, I haven't found any real problems with iOS 7. I kind of like the look. It's going to be a little bit different with this new flat initiative that everybody's getting into, basically taking the 3D look out of all the buttons, little drop shadows and the beveled effect and stuff like that. So the buttons look flat. Like for instance with Mail right here, the App Store up here, that all just looks straight up flat. The newsstand doesn't look like a bookshelf anymore. It looks like a newsstand. You open it up and you've got your magazines right there. And that's it. That's iOS 7 in a nutshell. I know you're going to probably test it out, download it, and there are some people that are waiting for iOS 7.0.1 to come out because it's a major upgrade. In fact, what Tim Cook said was it is the biggest update since the release of the original iPhone. And I kind of agree. It went off the beaten path from the look of iPhone and iPod for that matter. So it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. And whether it looks more like Android or not, that's not the point here. The point is it looks good, it functions well, and there's actually a new program, and I just learned about this last night, that actually lets legacy apps that haven't been updated for an iPad 2, 3, or 4, to be used on iOS 7. And so you could actually find some old apps and put them back onto your iPad, and they'd work if it's something that you really need. And that's this episode of iPad 365. What'd you think of iOS 7? Have you downloaded it yet? Have you installed it on your iPad? Are you going to install it on your iPad? Let me know. Twitter me over at iPad365, or you can email me at show@ipad-365.com. All right, we will be back on Monday when we have another app on iOS 7 that we'll show you. We'll do it then, and until then, you guys geek out.